Hello, everybody. Welcome to Show and Tell for May 1st. We're so happy that you're here. We have a really special treat today. This is a special edition Show and Tell, all about Milan Design Week and our team that was there. We're going to jump right into it in just a few minutes. It's going to be a jam-packed, action, full hour full of inspiration and influences from Milan Design Week. So we're really, really excited about that. Just the typical housekeeping things before we get started. Especially today, more than any other days, we really want to hear what you're loving. If you have any questions, so please do use your chat box as we go through today's webinar. Just make sure that you select everyone so that not only our panelists can see your question, but also our fellow attendees at Show and Tell can also see your question or your comments. We will, of course, be sharing today's presentation with you via recording and links later this week. So don't worry about that. You don't need to write things down as we go. We will follow up with you with a recording, so you'll have that. Also, if you want to catch any of the past show and tells, if you missed any previous months and you have time for some inspiration, you can find them on our website for those of you who are clients, or you can look at our YouTube channel and they are all there. So with that said, I'm really excited. I'm just going to sit back for this webinar and I'm going to let our team take over. Again, this entire hour will be all about the amazingness of Milan Design Week a couple weeks ago. So I'm just going to stop share and I'm going to turn it over to Hallie, Aurora, and Peter.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. Do you want to kick it off, Aurora, and just give a little bit of background about Design Week?
Yeah, so hi, my name's Aurora. I'm a home strategist here. Sorry, on the home and lifestyle team. While half of our team was in High Point, the other half was taking on Milan Design Week, which is one of the most highly anticipated events for both fashion and home nowadays.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Always.
So we are here just to share some of our finds from, we're just going to briefly touch on Salone, which is the main trade show, and then talk about the Fiori Salone, which is all of the external events, and some of those goodies tie back a little bit more to different cultural shifts. So they're just a little meatier to dive into. So to start things off with home and lifestyle, we're going to jump straight into Salone. This year was the Euro Cucina, Euro Bagno. So a focus on kitchen and bath throughout the show was very strong. One of my favorite finds is sort of how AI is being transformed into another aspect of quiet luxury. We've been tracking calm tech for a couple of years now. This is like high-tech solutions that remain out of sight, out of mind. With AI in the kitchen and bath, these are used for making sure you're using your water efficiently, making sure you're using energy efficiently, as well as these like gourmet chefs that are being built into different appliances like ovens, mixers, that are pretty incredible. Samsung and LG both have some really great initiatives going, so I would encourage you to look sort of into their brands a little bit more, some of their most recent activations to get a greater understanding of this. And the second is we saw this stainless steel brushed metal everywhere, like not only at Salone, but at all of the external activations as well. I'm a huge fan. It's often paired with these like warmer tones, a lot of craft textures. So it's still stepping away from that like cold and very clinical sort of association that we might have with stainless steel. And as you can see, it sort of like plays with a lot of the tones really well. It reflects a lot of the warmth when paired with these pieces. Some other key finds from Salone were, of course, wellness bathing. Kohler had the shower head that was like synced up to do breath work with you, which was super cool, a lovely break during the trade show, as well as a ton of these like compact saunas being shown throughout the show. And staying with that compact theme, Smeg, very simple kitchen. There's a lot of people now creating small space solutions for kitchen and bath that will really innovate the way that we think that we can use our spaces. So stay tuned for a deeper dive on content like this on the website. We will be breaking down all of the different product categories. Our report for Salone Satellite is already live, which features a lot of the emerging designers from the show, which Peter crafted. So thank you very much for that. It's beautiful. We love it. And a kitchen and bath will be coming soon, and the rest of Salone will be posted this week, most likely. So then we dive into some of these dreamy design escapes. I'm a super big fan of these super stylized apartments. I think the first sort of iteration we saw a few years back now was Demore Studios. Beautiful sort of transformations of these historic buildings and different apartment styles. Artemis Gallery, which is a beautiful gallery for Italian design, had this breathtaking palazzo. There was like operatic music playing in the background the whole time. Walking into the living room to see that like overflowing lilac arrangement, I gasped. Was so gorgeous. They have a bunch of really beautiful reels on their Instagram if you weren't able to make it out, that do a little bit more justice than just the photos. And the Bocce apartment as well was super cool, especially figuring out different ways to showcase lighting in a more stylized manner, which we really appreciate. So gorgeous.
Also, just to note that we'll send out some of the links, and we'll send this whole actual presentation after, so you can kind of dive in a little bit deeper for yourself.
Yes, and these are also something I would definitely dive deeper into. There are hundreds of artists represented at some of these group shows, like Alcova, which is one of our favorites now. Recently, it also expanded into Design Miami, so we were really happy to see it even in a larger space this year, featuring 2 different villas. The people in line behind me at one of the locations had waited for 3.5 hours. So it used to be these sort of like secretive, like if you know, you know, but now it's one of everyone's favorite places to visit during design week. So definitely check out their website, their Instagram. Tons of emerging talent. Some of our favorite designers are always showcased here. And sort of a rising, I wouldn't necessarily say competitor because they have very different vibes, but another collectible design show is this Barzante Atelier. Another beautiful group show, lots of emerging talent, a little bit more of like a raw and industrial vibe, which you can kind of sense from these photos as well, but definitely dive in.
So stunning.
And these are some of our tried and true favorite galleries to visit. The Nilüfer Gallery this year had a really cool showing from Draga and Aurel, as well as Andre Rezinier, which he is known for making that NFT chair and sort of manifesting it into real product. So he created a bunch of chairs specifically for the gallery and that beautiful mosaic you can see in the center. Definitely would also encourage you to check that out. And Rossana Orlandi, which is always one of our favorites. This photo all the way to the right of this table that sort of looks like marble. It was actually made out of some kind of silicone material. So if you like squeezed it, it was like a little squishy. And I just really like that like trompe l'oeil kind of play here. Also lots of great emerging talents, hundreds of different artists and designers represented. So definitely check out their websites if you're interested in learning more about collectible design. These 2 galleries in particular sort of set the tone for a lot of what happens in that world. So.
And then I also just wanted to speak to some of the color confirmation we saw all throughout Milan Design Week at both the trade show and the external events. The first one, I just really want to touch on Urgent Orange. If you joined us for Color Week last week, you know that this was a massive topic of conversation, but I do want to highlight the middle Kohler installation. So they were highlighting their new smart toilet, but they kind of have this asymmetric design. And what I really liked is the designer, Samuel Ross, he was talking about how he was super adamant about subverting what a bathroom should look like. So one quote that I love that from him that I also just love as a general design philosophy is, what it is to be a designer fundamentally is to be on the edge of risk when it comes to proposing new ideas. He states that this object in particular has such an intensity that it pulls you in by the use of color and by the use of asymmetry. So he would argue that it's actually closer to a sculpture, but it just also happens to have an incredible function. So really it's about placing itself in this incredible gray area of design at the moment between object and artifact and design object versus an actual functional object. So just love seeing that this is such a bright color. It kind of was a bit divisive internally here, but I like seeing it in these massive applications and also used as an accent elsewhere throughout the festival. But that was the first color confirmation. And the second one is our Scuffed Lemon, which is one of our recent favorite anchor colors. I saw that the BMW Future of Joy installation, they debuted their new class model, and the color of the car was actually this like really nice scuffed lemon and this almost matte metallic application here. And then of course the middle one is from this lighting designer Carol Gay from this gallery in Isola. And also the use of scuffed lemon in the third image, which is from the Elle Decor Material Home, which I really love kind of in combination with these more saturated, warm, orange tinted hues to kind of really bring out the glow. So just wanted to highlight some of the color confirmation and different applications we saw across the week. And then this is a color that myself, Aurora, and Peter all saw so much. I think it really validates continuing conversations we've been having for seasons now about red and how important it is as a color. But what was interesting here was how it was used and what it was paired with. So the different use cases we saw for this burnished or darkened red, it was almost used as a neutral because we saw it again with those stainless steels that Aurora mentioned, a variety of different woods, and even some like glossy finishes, and even sometimes paired with like a scuffed lemon or a lighter citrus shade, which was also really interesting. So we wanted to call this out. Do you have anything to add about this color? But we really loved it, and that's probably the biggest color message we saw coming from Milan Design Week. All right, and with that, I'll hand it to Peter for some of the fashion collabs.
Yes, I can definitely intro some of the fashion collabs from Milan Design Week. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Ketchkish. I'm a youth analyst here at FS, and I had the pleasure of visiting and covering Milan Design Week with Hallie and Aurora. And something that was on our radar throughout the whole of Design Week was this great spike that we saw in cross-market collaborations as the lines blurred between home and lifestyle and fashion ranges. So if we just skip to the next slide, I can walk through a personal favorite, which was a collaboration between IKEA and Dazed. So IKEA actually staged an installation at Tortona during Milan Design Week, collaborating with the publication Dazed. And they debuted a collaborative project titled Catalog. It was a 30-page physical poster zine that explored home environments through the work of contemporary photographers like Imru Asha and Daisuke and Erika Kamano, amongst many others. It brought a lot of attention to classic print media, which validated a lot of conversations we've been having internally, and it explored this sort of youthful optimism and theme. Each of the photographs in the zine itself captured a snapshot of communal living and promoting the sort of flat pack manufacturers' archival designs. And what we loved here is this really inventive take on styling. So vintage IKEA lighting and chair designs actually became wearables. And that was really great to see from a styling perspective. We also loved all the color blocking as well. It validated, if you're an FS client, you'll be familiar with our SS26 color shift fundamental primaries, and we saw so many of these really gorgeous and beautifully mundane colors coming through. It's just the world that we definitely want to live in.
Yeah, comment on the colors. I love this, and that report, our first design site, should be going live this week. But I feel like that was also a theme we saw throughout, was like this idea of like paring it down, mundane. We'll touch on it in our next section. But I think also color-wise, it's a great segue to the Bottega on the Rocks exhibit, which was probably one of the most popular exhibits. I feel like everyone was kind of talking, everyone was waiting in line for it. So many lines. But Bottega Veneta, they partnered with Foundation Le Corbusier and Cassina, which is the Italian carpentry workshop. The brand also worked with that same brand to create the benches for their fall winter 24 runway show set. So you kind of see some of the inspiration popping through here. But they created this massive installation that you see pictured on here, centered around their LC14 Tabaret Cabanon, which is their table design. But that was originally inspired by a whiskey box. So it's a 12 by 12 inch piece of boxy furniture, but it was reimagined here in a couple of different ways for this collaboration in these like really bespoke special editions. So for the wooden pieces particularly, they use a special charred wood technique that draws on traditional Japanese methods, which offer natural protection to the wood and highlight the wood grain's unique patterns. So they're really stunning, especially up close, kind of like they all are obviously one of a kind. And then the leather additions here are each meticulously hand woven with Bottega's special technique. And they also use a special brushwork technique employed that's covering the leather with the colored paint that you see here, and then also followed by a layer of black paint, which then is partially removed to kind of create this textured finish for each piece. So only 60 styles of the leather boxes will be available for purchase and only 100 of the wooden pieces. So I love that it's still kind of giving this exclusive look into this collaboration. But what I also personally loved about this entire installation was really how it was bringing craftsmanship to the forefront and kind of showcasing these interesting and intricate techniques on what is essentially a really simple design. It is basically a box, but every item felt really rich in texture, and kind of the scale of the installation also felt really rich and kind of felt immersed in it. So definitely a favorite.
So much inspiration from Bottega. It was really great to see in person. Like Hallie said, sometimes the photographs don't really do them justice because it just felt so immersive to be there in person and experience it and really get a close up. But a collaboration that we felt really excited about was a collaboration between Swiss heritage textile company Fischbacher and anarcho mountaineer Ramdam Tuhami. Fischbacher has actually been trading since the 13th century, and the brand infused its offering with this dynamic, youthful energy under the joint creative direction of their collaborative partner. Tuhami's inspirations took him to a space where he felt most in his element, the mountains. So the whole collection embodied the adventurous spirit, all decorated in these earthy grounding shades and accent pops, and it looked to trail signs for graphic inspiration. There was a real focus on natural materials and their inventive use in living spaces. So we saw a lot of alpaca blankets and wool curtains that spoke to that sort of expected elevated feel from the Swiss label. Also validated our fall winter 25-26 Camp Cozy seasonal narrative for youth, where we saw sort of the codes of heritage design disrupted by emerging creatives. And there was a lot of those sort of campsite inspirations with cozy and soft fibers and warm hues. And so that was really great to see in person. A great collaboration for sure. And then another installation that we loved, where this sort of celebratory conversation around heritage continued, was at Birkenstock, where the brand took us back to 1774 to Birkenstock's roots. So we actually saw a lot of the new styles of Birkenstocks presented alongside traditional sort of old school shoemaking tools. And then Birkenstock's focus on natural ways of walking was mirrored in the installation with all of these nature references and references to natural terrains. And it was also great to see an interactive feel come through with their customization station. It's always great to see updates on the DIY conversation popping up, and it was definitely a crowd-pleasing moment of being able to be there in person, learn about the history of the brand, and partake in this DIY workshop with the experts. And then some newness worth noting on the material innovations forefront was this great collaboration between the brand Peel Spear, who create circular materials from discarded coffee grounds and fruit waste. And they collaborated with two brands, one of them 7 or 9 and Tsubo. And the collaborations were shown at this amazing store, Susoro Milano. And we loved seeing all of these plush textures and these really design forward apparel assortments that were made from more eco-conscious alternatives to leather. And actually being there in person and feeling the material, it was really kind of incredible how buttery the texture was and how durable the quality felt. And then again, it's all a product of more of an impact reduced solution. And we loved all the designs. Definitely, I was gushing over all of these gorgeous details to Hallie and Aurora when we shared our images internally.
Yeah, it feels so plush. I think also just speaking to like this idea of all the sustainable materials, we saw a lot of confirmation for a conversation we had several seasons ago. We started several seasons ago with local color and kind of using like the natural harvest of different plants and even like insect species to create materials and dyes. So I think that that was definitely coming through a lot across the week. So
Absolutely.
love these textures. They feel so, yeah, plush.
And then the Hermes installation was definitely an FS favorite from Design Week. The Heritage House showed a sort of 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the future attitude, creating this curation where archival pieces set with some newer ideas for the home. So for those of you that aren't again familiar with our forecast, those fundamental primaries that I spoke to here are really popping through. And a standout piece for me from this particular installation was this color blocked jockey blouse that you can see there. There were actually a few iterations of this, and it featured this classic color blocking and this sort of retro joyfulness that we saw for apparel then translated into some of the home accents, like the classic Hermes throw. So that was great to see as well. Really excited about all of these sort of home and lifestyle and also fashion pieces that correspond and all live in the same world.
Also still the thread of those like fundamental primary colors kind of coming in a little bit more subdued way here, but it's interesting to see it kind of all laid out together, how much synergy there is. And then I can speak to this, which was also an amazing installation, Loewe lamps. So obviously under the helm of Jonathan Anderson, he commissioned 24 international artists and some of his longstanding collaborators to create these different lamps. So obviously with light being the central medium in all these works, each piece is characterized by unexpected interactions with the light. So the properties have been embraced and manipulated differently by each artist, but guided also by their own individual practices. And I think that what was interesting here was just the wide range of materials used. So some of the lamps featured birch twigs or even horsehair, obviously leather to kind of mimic the craftsmanship of the Loewe bags, and also some Japanese washi paper that you can see at the bottom corner there. But I definitely urge everyone to go look up all of these designs because there's so many incredible pieces. You can find them pretty much all online now. Also, I feel like on the Loewe Instagram, they kind of talk to some of the different artists and their process, which is also fascinating. I couldn't include all of them here, but some of the ones I wanted to highlight, I love the one in the top right corner. So we see again that sleek stainless steel that kept popping up all week, but I like that it's paired with the concrete, but my favorite detail is kind of how you have like the sketch in the middle, but then the actual pool lamp is the same chain that's used on the Loewe bags. So I just loved kind of all this different combination and thought it was such a cool structure and piece of art, but also a lamp. I also love the bottom middle, which kind of looks like this tortoise conch shell. That might be my favorite one. The artist called it this light membrane, and it's made with urushi, which is a Japanese lacquerware, and also hemp, I think, on the inside of it. So just again, all of these amazing textures. I love the way the light kind of shines through some of the tortoise pieces and peeks through the bottom. And then, yeah, the paper lamp, which kind of illustrates this diffused light. There's just so many cool iterations and interpretations of how to showcase these light sources, but definitely encourage you to look up all the different ones and kind of dive into each of the artists because there's so much inspiration. I feel like every season when he does these kind of artist collaborations and these contests, so much newness and inspiration comes from it. Yeah. Next section.
Yes, so for cafe culture, we were connecting the dots in real time between all of the different events and installations that we saw during Salone. And amongst ourselves, we coined this sort of strong theme or activation style as cafe culture. Milan Design Week saw record numbers, both in terms of the exhibitors and the visitors as well. So taking a moment to pause and slow down and enjoy a good cup of coffee amidst a busy week. It really helped beautify those in-between moments. And a lot of brands really capitalized on this with these cafe-themed activations that we love to share some examples of with you. So the Marimaku and Apartamento did an amazing collaboration, which we just love. We saw the sort of brand message of both the Finnish design house and the interiors publication translated across culinary delight and tabletop items and apparel, all inspired by carefree living. And we saw these nostalgic hues that were sort of remixed with these grounding wood accents for those of familiar. Something that caught our attention was the staff uniforms from this more than anything, which was amazing. These sort of breezy button-up shirts finished with these orange tinted stripes, and then they had these embroidered back panels that were exclusive to this installation during Milan Design Week. But then even beyond this, even I know Burberry had a pop-up coffee stand, and we saw the Tommy Hilfiger Cafe, which is a permanent store and in Milan and is not specific to Design Week. But nonetheless, it was great to see the sort of creative merge between fashion and lifestyle markets. And of course, who doesn't love a good cup of Italian coffee when in Milano?
Yes. I mean, I was basically offering to buy the shirts off of the wait staff.
Yes.
I was so obsessed with them. I was asking, and they are available somewhere online, but I was like, I want it now. They're so good.
I think too, like the level of detail in all of these cafes, they even had like napkins with the logo printed on them. Like there was not a place or any sort of crevice left that had not been transformed into this branded sort of immersive lifestyle environment.
Yeah. Also, as Peter mentioned, because Milan Design Week is so busy. I mean, we were literally running around like crazy people, but it was nice to like actually be forced to kind of go in and like actually sit down and have a cup of coffee. Like I went to one installation, the guy was like, you know, you can sit down. I was like, oh, sorry, like I'm from New York. but it was nice to kind of have those moments where you were actually like encouraged to take a rest. So much appreciated. Lots more to come.
This is another cafe. They sort of focus more on the aperitivo hours, definitely focusing on the art of interiors and food combined. The food stylist here is Ananas on Instagram, one of my favorite designers and stylists at the moment, just like incredible sensory immersion. And Lambert Efi is the lighting company that you can see pictured here as well. They just always have such great creative sort of activations for every event that they take part in. So we knew off the bat that this would be strong, but and obviously another lovely confirmation of our orange. But
yeah, I love this. What is this item up here?
So they like custom made these chrome pieces. So they also had like little cocktail clips and stuff. So it's just sort of a way to serve the food, but it definitely like it looks like some sort of gallery piece.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love, yeah, the chrome and the orange is really cool.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Like, I'm just going to speak to this, but this was Cafe Ramoa, so the luggage brand, and then I forget, yeah, Marzocco. So they partnered and did this, again, small little coffee shop debuting their new espresso machine, but we loved the design of this one, that kind of that burnished red color again with like the wood. So it kind of was giving you the nostalgia, giving you that mundanity. And I also love like the really classic style of their cups. It looks like the cafeteria ware, which is something, again, we've been seeing a lot in our own research and then saw it confirmed at Milan Design Week. But again, every detail was kind of marked out. You can see they had like these amazing like work jackets with the logo on the back. They also, I think that you shared with us, Aurora, they like had these cool mirrors, and I can see the mirror with the menu, but like you can actually see them being hand painted on Instagram. So we can definitely link that for you. But again, just kind of all of the details that go into this is really, really beautiful.
Hey, Hallie and Aurora, just really quickly, Abby would love to know the name of the food curator from Insta before we get further in.
It's ananas, which I believe is banana in Spanish.
Yeah, We'll drop the links to
Yes.
everything after also, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Okay, then our next one, this was one of our favorites. So Barbasso and Highsnobiety did a collaboration, and it kind of fits under both the cafe culture and the fashion collabs that I would say. But first, Highsnobiety, they partnered with Sidewalk Kitchens, and they actually created an entire row of pop-ups on the street in Milan to celebrate the launch of their Not in Milan collection, which you can see pictured here. So in addition to the coffee shop, they offered their own blend of coffee, and they also had a partnership with Marchesi 1824, which is the famous pastry shop in Milan. They also worked with other local street food vendors. They had like an arepa shop, I think a burger place, a pasta spot, obviously, and then of course a coffee shop, among many others. And all of these little shops were on one street, and they stayed open all week, so you can pop in, grab a coffee or grab lunch, and just hang out. But this collection is their Not in Milan collection. So they created it in collaboration with Bar Basso, which is a Milan institution known for creating the signature cocktail, the Negroni Sfoggiato. And this collection offered t-shirts and sweatshirts and hats with like, I love the bold lettering and kind of all of the branding used, but they also had some really nice embroidered details. Again, kind of pulling in that Campari red color throughout the design, which I thought was, again, a great detail. And then they offered also these bar accessories. So you have the cocktail glass and the shaker to kind of go along with the bar theme. So it's a little bit of cafe, a little bit of aperitivo, but we loved the collaboration here. Right. I think this is our last one, but lots of fun to dive into here.
So yeah, multi-sensory activations were sort of everywhere. There was always some sensory element to a lot of the immersive events, either focusing on like a combination of like taste and color or like sight and sound, which was really interesting. Also aligning with a lot of the research and the forecasting that we had been working on for the past few seasons now. So that it was good just to see it again come through really strong and validate a lot of our findings. Sure. So the first little bit I'd like to share is this crystal beat from Preciosa, the lighting company. We'll play like a little clip of the video, but there were 400 of these hand molded crystal cubes hanging and reacting to a soundscape that they had a DJ mix specifically for this event. And it was just so cool. Stepping in, it was like fully transported into another world. But yeah, take a little peek.
Anything else to say?
Nothing else to mention on that one, but just a good example. They were at last year's Euro Luce at Salone, so it was also cool to see them transform an event from the trade show to an external piece. Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like for something that feels so innately digital as well, it's really great that you can physically immerse yourself in that environment and really interact with the pieces, whether that's through touch or just, being there and being able to walk through. It's like mixes these two perfect worlds and creates like such a different immersive experience. So I'm really glad that we got to experience in person. And this is one of those moments that has been heavily documented on social media. So I definitely do an Instagram search for this or have a look on TikTok and see all the content, because actually I think you really get a feel for the scale of this when you see people interact with it, which is really great. So definitely marks one of our favorite multi-sensory activations from Design Week.
Yeah, stunning. I also feel like it's a great segue to the next installation, which So this one, I feel like everyone that I've talked about, this is my favorite, but I think this is definitely my favorite installation that I experienced during Milan Design Week. So Google partnered with an immersive research studio, Chromasonic, to create an installation called Making Sense of Color. So I think this is perfect for a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the work that we do here, kind of looking to color when we're choosing our palettes and our colors every season. It made me think a lot about how we do that process. But the aim of this installation was to illustrate how color is elemental to how we experience the world around us and how color has the power to simultaneously create sensations, but also play on our perceptions. So again, I think that's what Aurora mentioned. This is a great confirmation of our indulged design aesthetic because we talked a lot about utilizing the different senses in design. So this installation definitely kind of taps into kind of the cross between the different senses, walking you through several different rooms, all meant to hone in on the individual, but through the lens of color. So I'll start with the first room that we walked into that was asking us, what does color sound like? So this piece of the installation was made in partnership with Chromasonic. So it was designed to stimulate the experience of having synesthesia, which is where you can kind of like see color or hear colors or assign different meanings to different senses. So what's happening here is they want to encourage you to view color through more than one sense simultaneously. But I'll show the video in a bit, but it's the actual screens are reflecting the wavelengths of the sound frequencies, and it's basically making the light audible, so it's matched up with the sound. So I'll play a little bit of this and you can get a sense of it. It sounds a little spooky. So each of these little pods, there was probably maybe like 20 of them in the room. I think they called them nodes. And you were encouraged to kind of go in and actually sit in these nodes and really like take a beat and almost meditate on what you're seeing and you're hearing. So you'll notice the change in sound. So red light has the longest wavelength, so it has the longest sound as you can hear, while yellow, green, and blue have a shorter wavelength that result in a higher pitch. So yeah, we wanted to kind of like achieve this meditative state while you're walking in first, but as the colors change, the sounds are changing. So we definitely special center for at least but those kind of the first their individual. Through. So the second room, which is the images in the top, is asking us, what does color feel like? So one of the Google designers that was actually on site explained that to get out of a design rut, the actual design team, they all attended this clay throwing class together and kind of got to work hands-on with a different medium that they're used to working in. So what came from that excursion, you can actually see it displayed here, are all these different polished ceramic pieces, these little stones, kind of all in these different shapes and sizes and textures. And the team, the design team, actually took the time to sit with everyone's individual rocks, I guess you would call them, and kind of different surfaces and feeling the intricacies that were derived all from the same material. And basically this exercise was for them to get a sense of what colors do these feelings emote and kind of like what they think about when they're feeling these, kind of removing the actual color from it, but still engaging that sense of touch, which I thought was such a cool way to design. And then they also talked about how they actually ended up using some of the details and the textures and implemented them into their products. Maybe if it wasn't necessarily in a color way, but I think some of them had like different like ribbed like effects on them, and they kind of use that on like a grip when you're holding a phone so it doesn't slip in your hands and things like that. So it was nice to kind of walk through this and get a sense of touch and think about it in terms of color. And then the next room was, what does color look like? So that's the bottom room here. So pretty simple because everyone kind of has their associations with what color looks like, but it had this like pole in the middle that you'll see there that had this concaved mirroring, and you were kind of asked to question your perception of color based on the singular structure. And then they were projecting different scenes on the ceiling. So they had clouds kind of going in and out. It had yeah, changing the color of the sky and kind of birds would fly across. So it was, again, just changing your perception of how you view color, not so directly, but through a screen, through a mirror, etc. And then the next room was asking, what does color smell like? So this is definitely my favorite room. I had the most visceral, very emotional reaction, which makes sense because smell is one of the strongest sense memories. But here they were showcasing Google's Peony Pink color. So that's the color you see on the wall. And they were showing kind of like, this is a range they're introducing to their new products. But to show that, they actually had peony petals falling from the sky or from the ceiling. And it, like, the actual sense of smell was so strong. It felt truly immersive, so beautiful, these beautiful blooms kind of overtaking you when you walk into the room. They also partnered with one of my favorite fragrance brands, Vireo, for this portion. So being able to perfectly capture what that shade of pink would smell like was just incredible. And then the next one was, what does color taste like? So unfortunately, we weren't actually able to taste the colors in this room, but kind of being confronted with these lemony hues as soon as you walked in, and kind of once you're starting to think about the color and the different senses, you actually, like, my mouth did start to like pucker because I saw these lemony citrusy hues. So the kind of going, again, validating that the colors that we see affect our senses. And then the last room was kind of this ultimate feast for the senses, they called it, where they had this tableau of all of Google's new products and kind of arranged in this color coordinated way, bringing all the senses together. But I think that ultimately I loved this installation because it was kind of looking at the real life applications and working in a multi-sensory way. Even thinking about how, again, we pick color internally, it sparked so many ideas. There's so much more to dive into. I read this amazing article with Google's vice president, so I linked that here, but just talking about what it took to create this installation. Yeah, really, really fun and immersive, and kind of a good way to, again, like, turn off your brain as you're like taking in everything from Milan Design Week and kind of using it in a different way.
I feel like I'm getting re-inspired just listening to you talk through all of the amazing things on color from Google. And I think something that we agreed on across all of Design Week was that the designers really challenged themselves to create new meaning and get quite experimental with their color storytelling, and especially touch's impact on our color perception was something that kept coming up. And for the surfaces for the home, we saw so much of color being propelled into new heights or new looks, new experiences. So how the sort of texture storytelling really played alongside the color, and we saw a lot of like gummy textures and metallic and hard and glass and cushioned, and how that changes our perception or viewpoint of colors is something that carried us through from day one right till the end. But Google was definitely the peak experience from Design Week.
Yeah, it was cool that their actual design team was there at the installation. So I was like talking to them, kind of getting a little bit more insight, which was also really fun. Right. And then the next installation this was actually at the Salone trade show, but this is a thinking room, interiors by David Lynch. So yes, that David Lynch, the film director, the auteur, also a furniture designer. I think he's just a general Renaissance man, but he was invited by the curator Antonio Monda to create an exhibition for Salone. So this is a thinking room. It's actually two identical thinking rooms and two identical installations that were out on the fairgrounds. So when you walk into this room, it's very obviously cloaked in mystery. It felt weirdly cinematic. It felt like being in one of his films. And at the center of this room was this like stark wooden armchair that you can see pictured here. It was also actually supplied with paper and crayons. So visitors were encouraged to like sit and draw and like actually have a think. Again, there were so many people there, you didn't actually have the time to sit in silence and kind of absorb the actual purpose of the exhibition, but it was there nonetheless. So the rest of the room, it mimicked the curves and the drama of the literal fabric of blue velvet. The floor was kind of etched in these waves. But what was interesting is as you walked around this really small room, you would kind of pass these small vignettes that you can kind of see here. And I love that you couldn't actually see what was in them until you were standing right in front of it because they were so deep set. And of course, within these, there was lots of hidden symbols and motifs. So one was like a mirror that was really far back, that it was a little bit distorted. One was this clock that was kind of moving. I placed a GIF in here so you could see it in real time. But again, it was kind of playing with your idea of perception and reality. It was all inspiring, though, to kind of really, again, make you slow down, inciting deeper thought, because the ultimate goal of this space was to create a place of contemplation amidst the chaos of the furniture fair. So yeah, I think this is really fun to see David Lynch and see his one part of his vision up close, since I am a massive fan of his, but just very weird and moody. And I think it was an interesting collaboration again from Salone to kind of get someone in film to come and recreate something for furniture and for home. So loved this one.
So another sort of dreamy design escape that we loved, and I am an unapologetic Floss fangirl, was their installation at Palazzo Visconti, which was inspired actually by a photograph that they took back in their archives. It was from their first showing ever in the same building of an international designer, like no big deal, just Philippe Starck. They have an incredible roster of talent, and as soon as you walked into the Palazzo, they had this video playing basically of some of the designers of the pieces in the Palazzo discussing their creative process, like what it means to work for Floss, what it means to carry on a design legacy, but also just showing some of the more playful sides of being creative. It's creatives often get this sort of like very, I don't know, associated with like very serious, overly intellectual, but I just loved how romantic yet playful the video conversation was. It is about 9 minutes long. I would encourage you to watch it. It will play just a little peek right now so you can get a sense of it.
And action!
If you have to choose to enhance one sense with superpowers, which one would it be and why?
Sorry, what?
My hearing, I'm deaf, so it's kind of, I think I always wished I could hear better. So.
Well, I guess if we're allowed to do anything, I would want to time travel.
Which moment?
Well, backwards or forwards?
Backward.
You're interested to go backwards.
Backwards.
I don't want to go forward.
There are so many moments, actually. I don't know where I'd start. I'd like to be just like in a room like this, sort of through the ages, of just wandering around invisibly, like a ghost, just watching people, listening to conversations, and maybe, you know, like just slightly interfering, moving something on a chessboard, you know, or knocking something over in a different room, just pissing people off.
So you actually want to be a ghost?
Yeah.
Yeah, or a vampire.
Well, no, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Would you wish
Pardon?
to change things that you did?
No, it's too terrifying. I mean, you've seen Back to the Future.
No, apart from that. I mean,
well, for me, maybe the smelling, because I'm very jealous of my little dog here, that when he's around, he's all the time smelling, and I can see that he's like thinking and understanding the world on a very different level.
And the smell is also the thing that has the longest memory, isn't it?
Indeed.
So that's sort of time traveling. The rules are you have
Yeah, so they got this group of designers together, basically spent a day in the Palazzo asking each other these questions, playing board games together. This is the photograph from the archive that sort of inspired revisiting this moment for Floss. And also a theme from their showing was keeping everything very simple. It was like steel, glass, and then just the wiring, basically the electronics that light everything up. But I would definitely encourage you to check out some of these photos. The Palazzo was beautiful, so dreamy. Their new designs that they launched are incredible. They have a new IC light for a very big anniversary coming up. And yeah, just a great sort of peek into the creative vision, how heritage brands can continue to evolve their legacy, and the beauty of simple, timeless design, which I think was also a focus throughout a lot of the different places that we stopped by at the trade show as well. So yeah.
I just wanted to jump in here really quickly. As much as this was super fun, and of course it had more of a light-hearted take, this was definitely one of the more emotional moments for me during Design Week, just being in that grand space and getting a glimpse into the power of collaboration and the power of conversation. I think that was just really something special to experience. And this is one of the first sites that we saw during Design Week. So it really set the week up for success, and we kickstarted all of our coverage on a high. And I, like Aurora was saying, I strongly encourage everyone to watch the video, because it's one I've seen like 2 or 3 times now, and it's just as good when like when you see it for the first time.
Yeah, I would also add that, like you mentioned, I loved kind of recontextualizing their new modern pieces by putting it in a place that they originated from. I think that we've talked a lot about in several seasons. It's kind of a perennial conversation, but how to mix old and new techniques and kind of merge the past with the present. I think it was a beautiful display of that. And I also agree with Peter. It was very emotional to walk in these like grand, beautiful places and just see beautiful things in it, which sounds like, I don't know.
Well, and the moody piano track,
Yeah.
like in the video, was playing in the background the whole time. So it was kind
Yeah.
of like the video never ended. Like you got to watch the video and then you got to take a step into the video.
Totally.
And like really experience what the designers were sort of chit-chatting about, imagining like their banter in the same place that you are. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was very, cinematic in a way. But I think that concludes all of our links. I mean, I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
Oh, we could have talked for hours, but
like,
we were trying to put all this together. It was so hard to choose to narrow everything down.
Yeah, we just saw so much incredible inspiration. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I don't know if Michael, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah. If you guys can stop share, I'm just going to bring up the closing slide here. But wow, I obviously followed along with you all while you were there, but just to get the context and how it personally affected you walking through these spaces was just really amazing. And I hope that everyone that joined today also got a lot of inspiration. We'll do more of these kinds of things when our team members go to some amazing events. We will be sure to inject the experiences here into Show and Tell. It's a great place to obviously share about them. So for those of you who maybe aren't clients, but you're friends of FS and you want to learn more about us and how we can actually support you and your team and your creative journey, please don't hesitate. Just send a quick email to hello@fashionsoups.com and someone from the team will get back to you. We can provide a demo and just kind of show you what it is that we do. So much more, but you get an idea from our team here on these Show and Tells. So thanks for joining us today. We will follow up with you guys this week with all the links. And Hallie and Peter and Aurora, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you guys back here on June 5th for our first summer Show and Tell. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks
Bye,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.